This morning on my walk, I was reflecting over our tendencies to control and how our subconscious convictions sort of get intertwined with every aspect of our life and start to affect every aspect of our life. And because I've done a lot of in-depth work to understand my own mind better, it's become quite clear in how I'm personally influenced by my own patterns and also how they sort of manifest in sort of the choices that I've made over the course of my life. And one interesting thing that I find nowadays, at least in the last, I don't know, 10 years that I've been exploring this type of work, is that there's more and more methods and techniques that are being offered to sort of regulate the system, whether it's the nervous system, to calm it down. That seems to be a very big thing nowadays. Everybody looking for techniques to regulate the nervous system. And what I've come to understand myself is that there's almost like a dividing line that at some point in your development you will reach, and then it's up to you to make the choice whether you're gonna leave the old ways and the old beliefs behind and embrace this new perspective, or if you're going to continue on that old path that might then eventually sort of be holding you back because of a conviction that is attached to this. And I think that trap is present within this work of nervous system regulation and all these techniques and methods and sequences that we can adopt and learn to gain some sense of control over the nervous system. Um, I don't think that is necessarily true. Well, it is true in the sense that it will have an effect on your nervous system, but I think if you understand the mind on a deeper level, then you understand that it's not really about the specific technique or the sequence that has any effect on your nervous system. The thing that truly settles your nervous system in that moment is, again, the mind, because the only thing that truly settles our nervous system is if the mind is focused and it's present. So it's focused on the present moment. Um, so in a way, you could say that these techniques, whether it's like a vagus nerve reset sequence or also you have these techniques where you're tapping the body to regulate the nervous system. The reason that is working is because not because of that tapping or anything having such a profound effect. Like, yes, it will have an effect on the body, maybe stimulating certain areas. So I'm not negating the fact that it doesn't have any effect, but the strongest effect on the nervous system comes from the fact that you're basically giving yourself or your mind something to focus on, away from the thoughts that are overstimulating your nervous system. So, yeah, like I said, I feel like there's a dividing line where when one is still focused very heavily on techniques to regulate their system and maintain a sense of balance, you're in the realm of trying to, in some way, exert control over your system, to manage it. And often, um, I think it's related to a sense of fear of truly letting go and surrendering. There's that need of a sense of control over the circumstances, and then I think because it's impossible to control the circumstances outside in our life, then we turn it inwards and we use these techniques to gain a sense of control over um, our mind or feelings. And I think there comes a point in your development where you will have to see that that was a crutch that was helpful to use up to a certain point. But just like with any crutch or anything that you use to support your system, in the beginning it can be helpful because it helps you to sort of regain some control and strengthen your system. But just like with a crutch on a that you would use, for instance, for a broken leg, once your leg is healed, if you continue to rely on the crutch, you're not strengthening the leg beyond that moment of repair. Now, that is obviously a very simple, oversimplified example. But this is what happens with the nervous system and with the energy system as well when we rely too heavily on these methods and techniques. So yeah, when we reach that dividing line in our development, that's where the choice comes in, because then we have the choice to sort of block ourselves and keep ourselves stuck by maintaining our old ways of trying to exert control over our system, or we have the choice to actually sort of let go of everything that we considered a crutch and really dive into ourselves to really embrace what is alive and not try to manage it away in any form. So yeah, that's not to say that techniques are bad or methods are bad. The question is like, what is the underlying intention behind it? And I've definitely in my journey used a lot of techniques and tried different things to work with my nervous system. And in the moment, some of them genuinely give some support. Like I said, there's an aspect if you can sort of pull the mind back into the body somatically and be present, it is helpful because it slows down your system, it slows down the mind, and it makes it single focused, which will settle the system. So I'm not saying that these techniques are bad or anything. The point is that at some point they will hold your development back and you will need to let go of that. And the way I look at it when I speak about that dividing line is almost like after that dividing line, if you choose to let go of the crutches and that you have been using up to that point, it's like it becomes more about practicing an art and refining an art, and it becomes about mastery, the mastery of your system, the mastery of um, the mastery of life in general. But when I say mastery, I don't mean mastery from a sense of control again, like you're controlling every aspect. Actually, there's a sense or an aspect of lack of control that is involved, where we surrender um, to where we basically surrender to life and allow that to move us in whatever way it moves us, without sort of making us collapse or crumble, so that we can keep standing. And for those things, I think certain practices are really helpful. I personally am very much into the Taoist arts of qigong and tai chi, and really working on a more subtle level with my energy system to first of all learn to cultivate my energy system, to understand it, how does it function, and then strengthen that system through various practices, through cultivating the mind. But I think it's very important to to embrace this idea of first principles thinking. Like, so much nowadays is about secondhand knowledge or instructions that we've received from others, or advices or routines and protocols that others have devised based on their experience. But I think it's essential, if you want to grow beyond a certain point, to let go of all of that and really turn inwards and discover for yourself what how your system operates, and how you can learn to work on a deeper level with your own system. And yeah, like I said, it requires a sense of surrender. So it requires a sense of maturity as well, being able to let go of, like I said, the crutches, and embrace the unknown, which for a lot of us, especially in the beginning, might feel very shaky, because subconsciously we've been using a lot of crutches to sort of cling onto and find a sense of stability. And these crutches, by the way, can be anything. I'm not just referring to practices. Like any crutch, it could be the people that you hang out with, the partner that you're with. For parents, I guess the children. So anything that provides you this sense of identity of, this is me, and I need this to feel stable and secure within myself. At some point, we will have to let go of that. And that doesn't mean, obviously, that we let go of the actual things in life itself. Like I said, I still do many practices, and they are very helpful and insightful. But it's from a different perspective. It's not anymore from a perspective of needing to do that to create stability, mm, so that I can actually function in the world. And yeah, when we make that choice, it will inevitably bring up a lot of stuff. It will bring up a lot of discomfort, a lot of emotions that are still unresolved within our system. And I think if we can embrace that, then that's part of the beauty of it, that we can start to integrate all these thoughts, these feelings, those emotions that come up, because that's the thing with using techniques and what I was mentioning before, the distraction of the mind, where if we have some sort of overwhelm within our system and we use certain techniques to calm the system, and it helps temporarily because we've distracted the mind away from our feeling, it has not resolved the underlying issue, so it will resurface again. So it's only so long that we can actually try to distract ourselves from whatever comes up. So yeah, I'm a big believer in embracing those emotions without trying to manage them. I'm a big fan of doing deliberate work in the moments that we feel calm and centered, where we can actually work with our system, with our breath, with our energy, with our physical body, with our mind. I think these are all extremely helpful, and they will also be very beneficial in the moments that we get challenged in life. But I also think it's essential to, when something gets activated in our system because of the circumstances in our life, that we don't try to escape and find refuge in um, in certain methods or practices to distract ourselves from what is actually alive within our system. And I think that's a part of emotional and energetic maturity and mastery that over time becomes more strong and integrated in our system, to the point where it just becomes a quality that is there, where we don't need to constantly manage our system in daily life. And it's a journey. It's um, it's about gradually uncovering certain aspects of our system, and yeah, and to gradually strengthen our system to the point where we can choose to embrace the unknown and walk that path with confidence and strength.